Guthrie lady, we can't imagine what that would be for us as children. Your mom come up missing for 3 or 4 weeks and no explanation of what happened. And again, it's so unfortunate, but I said that's just another event, and the next breaking news will override that one, and there'll be a new story that's getting ready to come into existence. But this morning or today, we've got just a little bit of a thought for you. We're living in a modern day that we can all relate to, but my thought is going to be to follow a stranger. You know, we are overwhelmed with technology. You younger people is that experiences the latest devices and the gadget that there is. But there's something that has got the capability to deceive you to the point that you think that you're following the real thing. This AI stuff, and I mean, for you people that even knows what that means, they're doing things right now that looks so realistic that it is overwhelming to you. You say, well, that has to be the real thing because I'm seeing it. You know, that's how that we judge it. You know, just hearing a rumor or hearing a story about something, but when they can put it visually in your face and you can see that this is happening, then we're going to be, and the world, I said, they talk about how important it is, how great it's going to be, but the ability to deceive this entire world is right now is setting the stage for it. And following a stranger is my little bit of a thought that I'm going to get across to you, that it's going to have the ability, and and I said it's so unfortunate, but I don't know what's taking place. You know, this day that we're living, you know, somebody can just come up with just any kind of a theory or any kind of a thing to start a protest. How does that get transitioned over into followers of that? I don't know whether you're just aware of it, but what's taking place in the school systems? What is happening that children is walking out of the classroom to protest? Where's the following coming from? Who's coming up with it? They have to be following a stranger because I said somebody is incorporating this in because, you know, it's happening all across our nation. We're seeing that school-aged children is walking out of their classroom to go protest ICE. I don't like ICE either. I'll just tell you, we had 2 or 3 weeks of it, and I was ready for it to leave myself. But basically, who is protesting or who getting the word to the school children that we need to get out on the street and begin to protest? Who is doing this? Where's it coming from? There is somebody that is getting the word to get that word to them, and they are being followers of whoever that stranger is. I said, I don't have a clue who it is that's doing all of this in corporations and all the different things that they're doing, but there is somebody that the street people, to say the least, is following after, to the point that they are following what they're requesting them to do. Now, whether this be an AI, whether this be whatever it is, but I said, I don't know how that you're just looking at this, but from my perspective, I can't figure out why the school children, the high school children, is walking out of their classroom and going down the streets holding their little sign up. Who in the school was promoting, we need to do this, children? But it's happening. But they are following a stranger, to say the least, because we are seeing what the results of it is. I have no idea how the protest is going to continue on, but who is causing this? It has to be some sort of a stranger. I'll just tell you, and this is how my perspective is on this, on who that I need to follow. When Jesus Christ first started his ministry, when he actually was baptized of John and he started in his ministry, he began to look for some disciples that he needed to be on staff with him, to somebody that they was going to be there to back him and support him and do help do some of the physical work that had to be done. And this is what Jesus done. He went to different places, different, a lot of them was fishermen. There's a lot of them was different calls in their life. But this is what Jesus done. When Jesus would come up to them, and this basically, he would kind of start a conversation up with them and, get just a little bit of background about who that they was. But this is the only thing that Jesus would say to them, the early stages of the discipleship, was follow me. Follow me. Basically, and it says that them disciples, they forsook their nets, they forsook their boats, they forsook their families, they forsook everything that they was, and they followed after Jesus. But they was not following after a stranger. They was following after somebody that was the very Son of God. And so out of this, we have got now then that there is different things that is coming into existence that we're seeing following after a stranger. People is encouraging more congregations, more people to follow them. Where are they taking me to? To what destination am I actually going to? Jesus, when he started his follow me, this is how that he done it. They recognized that he was who that he says he was, and they begin to follow after him. But you think about what it was that's taken place. It's so unfortunate, and I said it's so tragic that there is pastors that is standing behind a pulpit today that is telling people to follow them, and they're leading them down a bad trail, to say the least. This trail that they're leading them to tell them that they can do any of the things that the world is doing and be all right and be accepted in it. It will absolutely not stand up when you stand before the Lord. Even though you can point your finger and say that guy told me it was okay to do this, the Bible tells me different. I cannot go against what this precious word tells me to do. I don't care how that pastor is. You know what? Paul put it into this perspective. He said, you follow me as long as I'm following Christ. But when I veer off of that path, you better take an exit tube, simply because you don't need to follow me anymore. You follow me as long as I'm following the Lord. And this is my hope today, being the pastor of this congregation. I absolutely do not want to deceive nary one of you people that's in this congregation today. I hope that you can follow me, and I'm going to lead you to that place. I do not want to be a blind leader to take you to a place, because the destination of the blind leader was, if the blind be leader of the blind, both of them is going to fall into a ditch, or there's not going to be any hope that I'm leading a group of blind people that is following me simply because they don't know who it is that they need to follow. And this is how Jesus gave this parable. In the 10th chapter of the book of St. John this morning, and it begins like this in verse number 1 of this, and it says, Verily, verily, I say unto you, he that entereth not by the door into the sheepfold, but climbeth up some other way, the same is a thief and a robber. Not as a thief or a robber, the same is a thief and a robber. He's trying to get to a destination, but he's taking the wrong route to get there. And I'll just tell you, this is why that he's making this point, to the point that we can see that there is pastors, there is evangelists, there's different people that is leading people, that is trying to tell them that they can get to, so many people in our modern day that we're living in is trying to convince people that there is many ways to get to God. If you don't like the Jesus route, then just pick you up a little idol. You pick you up something. Go out and find you a good tree somewhere, and you just begin to bow down and worship that tree. That'll get you to God. But I'm just telling you, that is deceitful. There is none other way under heaven given wherein by men must be saved except through Jesus Christ. That's going to be the only option that this world is ever going to have. But there is so many people that is being deceived that tells them that they can get to God another way. Please don't never accept me telling you that if you don't want to serve Jesus Christ, find you something else to serve. I'll just tell you, I would be deceiving you, and that was one of the first and foremost things that Jesus began to start, what's going to take place in the last days. This is how Jesus put it in Matthew 24. He said, I want you to take heed Don't let no man, don't let nobody tell you that they're going to be able to deceive you, folks, simply because if I can convince this, this world of people that's out there, that there is so many vast amounts of people that's out there in this world that's following after a stranger. They're following something that's not going to get them to this heavenly destination that we're doing our best to do. So this is how he continued on with this. He said, if you try to do this, he that entereth enter. You coming in trying to say that you're going to get to heaven any other way, you're the same as a thief and a robber. Are you going to have the ability to get to heaven that way? Absolutely not. But he that entereth in by the door is the shepherd of the sheep. That door, what did Jesus say that he was? He was the way, truth, and life. He said, I am the door. And he said, out of this is what you'll have to do. You'll have to come in through the door. That's the only entrance that we're going to say. You know what a thief and a robber does? A lot of times they'll break in the window over here on the side. They'll gain an entrance. They'll maybe climb down through the roof or some of their access that they would have. But this is what Jesus Christ is trying his best to get a point across. You got to enter in at the door if you're going to be able to get to where Jesus Christ is. And I'm just telling you, a stranger, you're not going to follow after him. To him that is the porter, openeth, and the sheep hear his voice, and he calleth his own sheep by name, and leadeth them out. And when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. Folks, I'll just tell you, there's a lot of voices, and I can relate to every one of you that's in here today, that I'm sure that there's been a devil that has tried his best to convince you to walk after something that you don't need to walk after. But you have to be able to distinguish what the voice of the Lord is. When you feel, and I said, what does the Lord do? He speaks to her heart. I mean, it's not an audible thing that I hear, but let me tell you, Jesus still speaks. He still speaks. He's still speaking to people today. You know what he's doing? There's vast amounts of people that don't have him in their life. And you know what he does? He speaks to them in their heart. Come unto me. This is that speaking that he's doing. Jesus still speaks, folks, and this is what he's saying. He is that shepherd that is there, and he's us as sheep here. It tells me that we follow him. What does that mean? We follow him. We're doing our best to get to where he's at. When he calls, we hear his voice. We begin to pursue him. You know, and something strange, us being sheep of his fold, a strange voice that we would hear, we don't pursue that. We don't follow after that simply because we don't follow after a stranger. This world, there's a lot of people in this world that's following after a stranger, but we are the sheep of the fold, and we don't follow after the stranger. He continued on. He said, this is what he said, and when he putteth forth his own sheep, he goeth before them, and the sheep follow him, for they know his voice. And a stranger will they not follow, but they will flee from him, for they know not the voice of that stranger. There's the keynote point right there, folks. If we get to the point that we can't decide whether that's Jesus trying to tell us to do something or whether that's somebody else, we are going to be led astray. And there's so many people in this day that we're living in that is being led astray because they are listening to the voice of that stranger when he's telling them to come this way or come that way, and they're pursuing after it. But he said, this is what you do. That stranger will they not follow, because we need to be as sheep. We need to flee from him, for we know not the voice of a stranger. This parable spake Jesus unto them, but they didn't understand not what things that which he was speaking to them. So he tried to explain it this way in detail. He said, then said Jesus unto them again, verily, verily, I say unto you, I am that door. That's where you come into this place, that we go into God through that door of the sheep. All that ever come before me are thieves and robbers, but the sheep did not hear them. He said, I am the door. By me, if any man shall enter in, he shall be saved, and shall go in and out and find pasture. So this was the promise that every one of us got granted when we was sinner people that was out there in the world. If you're saved today, this is what you got. When you heard that voice, you felt that voice that pleaded to come unto him, you come to Jesus, and this is what he said he would do. He'll save you. He is still in the saving business today. We don't get to experience it. We don't get to see it near as often as we would, but it can happen to anybody that's out there that don't have him in their life. If they'll listen to his voice and come to an altar and call upon him, they shall be saved, and they can be saved. So he continued on with this, the parable that he was trying to get, that how that he was the door. He become the chief shepherd, basically. You know, I don't know how that you people classify what a pastor's role is. I'm concerned about when people don't come to church, and I'm concerned about when they begin to walk away and begin to leave and depart off from what the foundation that they got built on. So I'm not really the chief shepherd, but I'm watching over the flock of the chief shepherd, and the responsibility comes with the pastor. I understand that, it troubles me tremendously when I look around and the people that used to come and be faithful to the Lord, and they're no longer doing it. He said, this is why. He said, I am the door, and if any man enter in, he shall be saved and shall go in and out and find pasture. And this is what happens to the sheep that begins to drift away from the Lord. And he put it this way. He said, there was a thief that cometh not but to steal, to kill, and destroy. And we can everyone relate to that. That's that stranger that's out there that's trying his best to convince you that he's trying to convince you that you need to come and do the things that the flesh is wanting to do. I know we referred to this in our Sunday school this morning, but out of this thing that deals with the fleshly part of us, what does it try his best to do? It tries its best to steal that blessing that we got, that convincing that we're saved through Jesus Christ. The thief come, and this is what he come for. He came to steal, he came to kill you, he came to destroy you. And I'll just tell you, he's giving it his best effort right now because he knows that his time is short out of this. But this is what he said, I come for. Jesus himself said, I come that they might have life, and that they may have life more abundantly. And he said, I am the good shepherd. The good shepherd giveth his life for his sheep. And he done just exactly that for us, folks. He was the one that sacrificed himself and gave it to the point that no man hath greater love than this. But he that is a hireling is not the shepherd, whose own the sheep are not. Seeth the wolf coming, and leaves the sheep, and fleeth. And that wolf catches them, and scattereth the sheep. And he said, this is why that hireling, and I don't want to be that hireling, folks. That hireling, he fleeth because he is a hireling, and careth not for the sheep. Now, a good pastor cares for his sheep, even though he's responsible for giving them to that good chief shepherd, but still yet, this is how that a good pastor ought to be concerned about the congregation enough that he won't run when something trouble comes to anybody that's in here. I need to be able to stand up with you. And you talk about, them was not David's sheep that he was watching over. Them was his father's sheep. And do you know that there was a couple of instances, as is referred to in the Bible, that tells me that there was a lion that come in and tried its best to tear up his daddy's sheep. What did the psalmist David do? Run? Absolutely not. Said that lion came in and he slew it, killed it, because it was trying to do damage to his father's sheep. You know, different things that he gave an account of. And that's what not a hireling. If he'd have been just on the payroll, he'd have left there when that lion showed up in the sheep, but he stood his ground there with them. That's my desire today, that when something comes our way in this congregation, that I'll be able to stand up and say, not in this house, devil. You can find you another exit to get out of this place. So he said, this is what I've come to do. That's a hireling. He said, these sheep are not his own. He sees a wolf coming, he leaves the sheep and fleeth. wolf scatters the sheep. And he said that harlot fleeth because he is a harlot and careth not for the sheep. Jesus said, I am the good shepherd. I know my sheep, and am known of mine. And the Father knoweth me, even so know I the Father, and I lay down my life for the sheep. And he also incorporated into this, I have sheep, and other sheep I have, which are not of this fold. Them also I must bring, and they shall hear my voice, and they shall be one fold and one shepherd. So out of this, we're looking at what we're anticipating. And I know he was referring to the Jewish people during this era of time, but he said, I've got other sheep. Us Gentile people become sheep of this same fold. We're going to all go and join in together with this same mission that we have got, that we're heading to a same destination. Folks, I'll just tell you what the psalmist David, and I said we know that we sang the song. He was a shepherd boy. You know, this is what he done, and he was that shepherd. But this is how, in one of the most memorized passages of scripture that there is, and it tells me that this is how the psalmist David put it into perspective. He said, "The Lord is my shepherd." We all are aware of that today. I'll just tell you, I said, you may look at me as being a kind of an overseer temporarily, but the Lord is my shepherd, and I want him to be your shepherd also. He can be your shepherd if we'll stay faithful to him. And let me give us some heads-up warning. Do not follow after a stranger. There's going to be things that's going to try his best to pull us away from that chief shepherd. But do not follow that stranger out there today. I said, I don't know where all this conflict of all the people that is coming, but who actually is the voice that's telling these people to go in all these protests, and who is actually telling the school children to walk away from your classroom and go and do whatever that they're doing? I said, not saying that it's harmful, they're not doing nothing tragic, but who is the voice? Who is that voice that's telling them to follow me? And you look, and I said, the streets gets lined full of them, carrying their signs, whatever that their protest even is, but there has to be a voice that is administering this unto the groups of people that's out there in today. Folks, I'll just tell you who the voice is that's trying to lead me from the Lord. That voice is the voice of the devil that is doing his best to convince me that don't follow this guy, but this is what I'm going to do. As Jesus told his disciples, I want to be one of them that also is going to follow him. So today, I'm giving you some counsel as a congregation to flee from the voice of that stranger, because he is doing his best to kill you, to steal you, and to destroy you. Do not let it happen in your life. And sinner people, if you're out there today, let me tell you, when you feel the tug of the Lord at your heart, when you hear that still small voice begin to speak to you and say that there is a better way, come to the Lord while that you can still yet be saved. If you'll do that, I'll just tell you, you'll not heed to that voice of that stranger, but you will listen to that voice that's saying, come and follow me. So today, if you are not where you need to be with the Lord, if you feel like that and I referred to this already, that the Lord still speaks. You just have to know his voice, because this AI deal is getting to the point that it's going to have the ability to deceive people to the point that they think that that is the Lord speaking to them in their life. But it is deceitful, and it is a dangerous thing to deal with if you don't know who the Lord is. So today, we're going to give you an opportunity right now to come to the altar. And if you don't know who this is that's dealing with your heart, that's calling you to say, come unto me, then I'm going to give you an opportunity right now. Come unto the Lord while he still yet can be found. So if you will, stand across the house, and we'll open the altar up today.